1, 2, 3, Rain, talk to me. We're gonna hit a beat and talk about my Eve. Everybody don't know what I say. I'm gonna do a beat.
Make it stop.
Rain?
It's
Why?
time to stop.
Why did you?
Rock, paper, scissors, right? We don't want Eve to be as simple as shut the fuck up, Seto!
Floods of like memes, and these small gamers are like, we're the elite of the elite. Do not fuck with us. We will kill you. We are the best players ever. It's like, dude, I did your shit. I did it better than you did.
You know what this conversation is like? When I say not enough supers die in Delve, and people tell me, oh, look, there's a super died in Delve. So it's like, when
What
I'm
are
talking
you
about
even
the balance
talking
issue,
about? We were talking about fucking balance, not supers
Yeah.
dying in Delph.
Look,
Why does
look.
everything with you have to be about supers fucking dying in
Shut
Delph?
up! Shut up!
Christ!
It's an analogy, moron. It's an analogy. Okay?
You guys stop arguing. You act like a fucking married couple. Jesus
No,
Christ.
don't stop arguing.
It's an
Well, it
analogy.
is Trash Talk
I
Tuesday.
was like,
My name is Redline13, and welcome to Trash Talk Tuesday. Tonight, I am joined by some of our favorite folks. We've got Maval Dog Years. Say hello, Mav.
Don't call me that.
All right. We've also got our friend Dominark,
How you all doing?
and Moderator is here. Hello, Moderator.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. I mean, it's going really well. There was some fantastic patch notes today. I'm assuming everybody's heard the news, right? That we're getting some more space in EVE Online.
Skarkarkun or something, whatever it's called.
Zarzak, I believe it is.
Zarzak, there you go. I knew it was
So
easy.
yeah, so unless you've been living under a rock, you heard about the Stargates that were in Al Savoynin, GTAC 0Q, HTEC PA, and Turner. Apparently, they all link up to this system called Zarzak. You can see it on the map too. Spoilers, sorry. It's right there. It's right there on the screen, right there, smack dab in the center. That's where Zarzak is. What the hell is this, man?
No planets, big space station. It's just going to be. What do I think it's going to be? It sounds like it's going to be like an abyssal proving grounds, but a permanent system of it. Just go in there and fight NPCs, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, there are
Obviously, you're not
like
going to be able to do sovereignty, right? Because there's
no,
any-
yeah, it's Deathless. The Deathless hold
Yeah,
that
they own it,
system,
yeah.
so that's theirs. It's NPC space through and through.
You take it from them now.
But it's a Neg 1 system, like Kia Ryan says in chat. I mean, could it just be like a highway? I don't know.
Well, it's
There's
got 4 gates going
some
to it, so
really
it is kind
big-
of a highway. Yeah.
There's some really big problems with it if it is a highway, though. Like, we want less of this kind of, like, projection, not more of it, right? Like, you can project really, really far with this. If you can just gate in and then gate out again, like, it's crazy. We are like in Rakapass, we're now like one jump and a gate from like Turner, which was initially quite far. Same for like going down south. Frat are like in its doorstep. Like it's yeah.
I mean, is
It's
that
not
really
great.
a problem though? Because what?
Well, can I propose something to you?
Yes.
What if this were to replace filaments? Would that be take filaments away and have this instead? This and Thera. So this is basically a non-wormhole version of Thera. I mean, I know it's not what it is, but it could be something like that. You get away because filaments, get rid of them. Have established pathways. Somebody had mentioned, I don't remember, it might have been one of you guys, that roaming is just kind of not a thing anymore because of filaments. You don't have to worry about going through gate camps because you just film it the fuck out or film it the fuck in, right? Maybe this would be a way to create that content back because I like gate camps. I know I'm an old coot, but I like that play. So I don't know.
And I mean, really though, what is the problem with more projection? I guess would be my question. Like, you hear people talk about Ansplit
You-
gates
you
all the
have
time and
to-
everything, but no one ever really explains what the problem is with
Yeah,
more
so
projection.
the problem with more projection is you have to account for a lot more stuff if you want to take a fight. For example, right now, you could keep eyes on people you think might be interested in a fight, and at a certain point, like there's not enough time for them to make it there, right? Like for Snaft, for example, we would have to mid down to Turner if we wanted to take a fight or pre-stage, right? And you could scout us pre-staging. Whereas with these new gates, we can just jump whenever we want. Like if there's a big fight, it's been seen in like many fights before where a smaller fight is kicked off and like people have got involved and flipped the tables. It changes the whole dynamic of fighting.
But I
Here's,
guess-
for example, one point to add on top of that, right? We have Turner, a system that is now connected to this. Fraternity was fighting in Turner against the locals with local deployments or with local dreadnoughts. Right now, if you can just move through the system, the venal end door is in direct range of UMI. You can Titan bridge to that system. People will project through that and immediately be in Turner. What does this mean for the people currently living in Turner? They will never engage with Fraternity with dreadnoughts again, at least unless they feel like they are super, super strong in that time frame. This will just lead to less conflict, not more conflict, because nobody will be able to field heavy assets in all these systems that are connected to or in direct range of the 5 other systems.
Yeah, and that Turner example is just one example of like a possible fight that is like ruled out by this, but it extends a lot more to just
I
Turner.
mentioned Turner, right?
Yeah,
because we had fights where that go into the hundreds of billions of destruction. We had
Yeah,
the group Fraternity actually involved in that fight, and I don't see Big Up engaging them in the same manner again if they know that Venal is basically just 2 jumps away.
yeah, no, of course not.
Kind of unwind the conversation, kind of a few steps back before we get to like the specific kind of geography around who owns what right now. Those of you who are more long-standing players will remember the introduction of fatigue, right? In kind of the Phoebe era. This has been about a little under 10 years ago. And kind of the reason that this was done to begin with was way back in the day, Capitals had a jump range of like 10 light years, and you could basically teleport as fast as you got your capacitor back up. So basically, this meant that if your PL, if you wanted to go from one end of the universe to the other, you could have, Sino ults on like an Atron or whatever, and you could jump around. And Pig was implemented in the game, albeit probably too heavy-handed, going from 100 to 0, was to make it so that if you're someone who wants to have, your small, corner of space, you don't have to worry about the big bads coming in and, just kicking their shit in and teleporting halfway across the map to get there. The idea is generally that topography and, distance from someone should mean something. If you want to be able to, come in and fight someone on a short notice, or you want to get in on an ongoing fight, you should have to have some sort of logistics chain or be pre-staged or have a deployment to that area and not just have everything instantly accessible to you. Otherwise, you basically make it so that these kind of up-and-coming alliances or people who want to do their own thing, well, if they can immediately just get a coalition to show up on their doorstep the minute they try anything, they can't really get the opportunity to build their sandcastle. I realize that was long-winded, but that's much of the concern that we see with something like this, where depending on what you can bring through, even if it's only subcaps, I mean, do you really want someone being able to teleport halfway across the map and kick someone's sandcastle in? Or should jump range mean something?
I mean, I can see your point, right? But I can also see where I feel like a majority of the time people spend playing this game, like smaller groups and solo players, is spent gating. And anything that can reduce the amount of time people spend gating, in my opinion, is a good thing. So what if this was something where like capitals couldn't go through? There is like a whitelist on the
Currently,
gates.
it currently looks like capitals can go through. Maybe they haven't configured the
Did you say
whitelist
can or
yet, but
cannot?
Well, in the sense that we
Can
can
currently.
click the gate, right? We can right click jump through the gate. But is there any ship that
Yeah, I
can't
don't
right
know
now?
where. I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure like with antiplexes, like if you try and take a super through, it like obviously doesn't let you and doesn't charge you, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't show you the price prompt. Whereas with this, it was showing supers the price prompt, which kind of suggests that you can take them through at the moment.
But it is
So
also
that's kind of a
possible that it's
spoiler, right?
just
The gates cost money to go into the new system. But yeah, I don't know. I think right now you can. We'll see on Friday or whenever, though, I guess, if you can or not.
And yeah, I would like to respond to one of your answers. You said the less time people spend traveling, the better.
Mhm.
This is a hard disagree because that time is often used by opponents, smaller groups, bubblers, like waterboarding and stuff like this. Like they're tactics that need travel time and that need setup time to actually work. And for example, catching a straggler in a group, if you just have NC plexes and he's going for NC plexes, it's very hard to shadow a fleet with your own fleet. But if they are stuck to normal gates the same way that a fleet that is shadowing them is
Why
stuck to gates,
why are you
they cannot move without impunity.
wait, in what situation are you shadowing a fleet that has access to Ansplex gates?
Yeah,
You
blind.
don't
It
do that anymore. That's
happened
my
a
point.
lot.
What'd you say,
But
Gideon? I'm
what I
sorry.
used to do, for example, is right. You don't do that anymore, and that's the point. For example, what I used to do when I was FCing in Invictus or in Legacy, I took a small fleet of good PvPers, took them in retributions or smaller ships. If we knew the enemy is moving a battleship fleet, I could predict the path, and I knew what the path is going to be. And before they even get to the fight, I was picking off stragglers. I was using bushes to split battleships off of that group, and I was waiting for the whole fleet to warp and maybe tackle a part of them, right? But for that to ever happen and to have small impact groups like that within the game and giving them a space, there needs to be travel time, and there need to be opportunities for a fleet to do mistakes. And Antiplexes removed the amount of points where you can make a mistake.
Another big problem with this is it makes Super and Titan hunting like really hard because you can move your Super or Titan like across the map, and like
I mean,
you don't have to traverse through light sec or not, or
that's
much or null sec.
assuming I think that assuming that Titans and Supers can go through these gates is assuming a lot. Because there's way too many deaths to like downtime campers and things like that for anything to disrupt that flow would be heresy at this point. So I
Well,
mean,
there might be a situation they
I
can go in there,
mean,
but you don't want
you
them to
say
go
that, and
right?
you say that, and I want to be hopeful that this is a good change. But when like CSM representatives are saying, like, quote, "We tried," end
yeah,
quote, about the new gates, that like it's not fucking good, red
yeah,
line.
that does
Like,
not instill hope in me, right? But to be honest, I mean, it seems pretty cool. There are a lot of things about this system on Hobo Leaks. Have you guys seen any of the Hobo Leaks on this? There's a ton.
yeah, there's some stuff you can put together on Hobo Leaks. Yeah, I don't know. They've added this retribution thing as well.
Yeah, so it's the addition of retribution. So what Mav's talking about is this. So this is detailing the different NPCs that are going to be there. So all through the Hobo Leaks, there's Angel Cartel, there's Garista's NPCs that are going to be roaming this space. But these are what seem like faction police that are going to be
So
in this space.
the important bit is the end bit where it says enemies of the pirates or those incurring the retribution of the deathless will be fired upon. I think is there not another mention? But yeah, my understanding is that these rats will be like what Conquest is in high sec, but
There's
in this new
another
system.
there's another interesting fact. Looking through the Hobo Leaks, had a little bit of time to do that before the show, and retribution status seems to be something that's unique to Zarzak and is something you can set your safety to. So possibly some ability to flag yourself towards the NPCs or other people inside of the pirate space here.
And I did find a bit about the retribution timer there. So the consequence of having a retribution timer, like you said, is that Capsuleers may freely engage in Zarzak, and pirate groups will engage in Zarzak. So if you turn this on,
Yeah,
The NPCs want to kill you, and players can also kill you. So I'm assuming if you turn it off, then neither of those things are true.
Oh, this is a timer, right? This is not safety. This is you've committed an action and you now have a timer because of it.
Yeah, it sounds like
It's
pirate
like
But I
going
assume it's the
suspect.
same. It's
So
I would assume it's the same though.
This is just a we don't know thing. So the safety action right now prevents actions that would give you suspect criminal, and now they've added that says suspect criminal or retribution status. So this is just another we're probably just going to have to wait for the keynote and the presentation to know what it does. But basically some
I think
flag
it's
that sets you
reasonably
hostile.
clear that there is some kind of action you can commit that will cause you to be murdered by the rats and the players in there.
Yeah, so in order to get retribution, you have to commit some sort of act, and then you can enable this. You can enable your safety to prevent doing anything that that could incur suspect or the retribution timer. So it's just regular safety mechanics, but with the retribution timer added on, I guess, instead of the suspect timer.
Yeah, maybe the pirates don't want you, fucking up their, safe haven.
Yeah,
We just don't know yet.
Yeah, well, it does say in the text for the NPCs that they are ensuring that the interests of the pirates and the Deathless Circle's notions of peace are maintained. So that tracks. I mean, that tracks perfectly.
Yeah, the
Oh,
question
Mav,
is
there's...
what
Go ahead.
do pirates mean with peace, right? And the peace is also in quotation marks, so there's a lot of interpretation. But at the
Yeah.
moment, it sounds like a system where NPCs would attack you if you attack somebody else. But there's another question then: how strong are these NPCs, and do they make a difference? Can you logi against them? So this is all stuff that you need to see in the specifics.
Well, I mean, and not only do you have to deal with the NPCs, there is a hazard, a gravity hazard is listed here. It appears to do % damage, and give you a warning when the damage begins and let you know when it's happening. All that fun stuff. So what?
So it
What?
looks like there's a percentage, and then it tells you when it's going to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read it would be around gates. I don't know where that information came from. Maybe it's in the gate data itself, on the text. But basically, this was presented to me as something that would be around gates, so people cannot camp them.
Like they did with the
indefinitely.
shipcasters. That's
It
really
also looks
smart.
like it's going to have some Triglavian type of effects for system wide, because you got system wide damage bonuses and shield bonuses for Zarzak.
There are also
So-
safe zones.
Okay, so if you can't camp the gates in, and there's a lot of stuff you can't do in there, like bubbles and bombs, etc. What the fuck are you meant to do in there?
Well, there's
And
looks like there's clouds. Looks like
yeah.
there's asteroids. There's sites.
Yeah.
Deathless custodians are people. I don't know if those are sites or what they are.
I mean, so
Construction
here,
sites.
hear me out here. Hear me out. So there is a Zarzak system-wide. There's a system-wide bonus, right? The bonus is to light combat drones, kinetic and thermal missiles, and shield resistance. This is a fucking crab paradise. This is a Gila farm, is all this is. I'm calling it right now. Just a place to farm NPCs.
Did you get to the part where it says Zarzak is a system cloaked in dust, gas, and assorted other bits of matter? Like their gravity's sucks them in to make this, I don't know, maybe a massive belt or something. I don't know.
No, I did not see that. I didn't.
If this
It's
thing turns out to be a
669,
massive
722.
crab thing.
That's what it looks like it's going to be. That's why I thought maybe it was something similar to this abyssal thing, but for more of industrialists instead of PV, the PVEP thing.
Yeah, from what I've read, it could be a crab stream, and because you cannot interact with the gates or camp them in the same way because of these effects, it's also the worst power projection tool that you could think of at the same time. I'm really struggling to like these changes.
Yeah, I was initially excited for new space and regions, and then seeing what we have now, it's it's worrying and concerning.
The more I read about it, the less hopeful I get.
This is definitely PVE. I mean, you have the blue star in there, but it is also moving, causing effects. That's what causing the effects. So eventually, it's going to go away.
I genuinely just hope we're all fucking wrong. But
There's some other.
Yeah, I hope
There's
so.
some other beacons here that are interesting that say safe zones for 150, 250K, 125K, and there's like dynamic perimeter bubbles. So there's like these objects that are invisible and that you can't interact with that may interfere with or prevent your ability to just interdict certain
I
gates.
imagine there'll be one on the station.
Yeah, things like that. Like the equivalent of station comes where the pirates say, like, hey, like, no fighting at the Continental or you die.
So
One thing I
Go
thought
ahead.
that might be the case was that the environmental damage was for the entire system, and then there were safe zones on the gates and the on the station. If the security status is like Concord, and like you can't just shoot people, then like that would kind of make sense if that's what they're doing. But
I mean, keep
I
in
don't
mind,
know.
the system is set still like very deliberately to negative 1.0. So like
One.
you're gonna be able
Yeah,
to
but sex
kill.
base is just like Concord, right? Like it's a law thing.
no,
Sex
sec
status
status
matters. You can't dock in high sec if you got a low sec. I can't dock anywhere in
of the security
1.5
status
and
of the
above.
Yeah, but that's
system,
all
not the
law
player.
driven.
The
Yeah, I'm talking
security
about the-
system, the security status of a system just determines what kind of NPCs spawn.
Yes, yeah.
Usually, the lower the true sec is, the better sites you'll get, the better NPCs, so the more risk you'll make.
Both in the like rats and the shit you scan down. It matters, yeah. Oh, you're talking about the retribution status. It is basically the same thing as the suspect timer.
Yeah, I
Suspect
think.
And retribution status allows capsulers to attack you for a limited period. So it looks like it's the same thing. You just get it for attacking NPCs instead of other players.
I imagine you'll get the retribution status by attacking NPCs. So if you attack them, they'll attack you back. But if you don't attack them, then you can freely traverse the system. I don't know, guys. It seems like it's a highway. I don't see much
Kind of
use.
interesting. We'll be fighting rattlesnakes, gilas, mambas, worms, mercurials, cinnibals, dramules. That's what they're going to be using for
Someone
ships.
in chat has said something quite interesting. They said this system might be used to run missions to gather standings for the death list, whatever, so you can enter the following systems, which is like an
big brain.
interesting point because
So, like, this is
the
just the
new system
beginning?
is in like a region, possibly, yeah.
But it also looks like no filaments. You're non-filament space, no filament. It also looks like you can't anchor anything. This cannot be anchored due to gravity. There's like 5 or
There
7
is
messages.
there is quite a large hole there between Geminate and TKE and Ethereum Reach. It
Yeah,
is.
all of these people who are saying that like this is like the Droneland's like projection thing or like fucking idiots. Like it's so far away from drones. Maybe there'll be more systems, but currently you're not projecting onto drones from here.
One of the other things that's of note is that it seems like the fee that you pay is reduced because you are not enlisted with any of the, and that just says faction name. So it seems like there might be some sort of like a factional warfare type element where you can enlist with, say, like the Angel faction, right? And have like some sort of reduced cost to do that. And a pirate faction warfare could be interesting. Another angle there.
So,
Yeah.
one thing that I did think of, and it does kind of shift the topic forward a bit. So, I know that they've been thinking about using new mechanics as kind of like a blueprint for what to do as far as changes go in other regions of space. Could this be like a new version of, say, low sec, or even parts of high sec, for like mission running, like a test of this kind of a system?
I mean, it looks like it's a hybrid of more of like the Triglavian and or wormhole space than it does low sec, right? I mean, just based on the restrictions and things like that, I would say it's another Triglavian type system.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, could they be using it as a test for what future iterations of low sec and high sec could look like?
I would hope they'd use the test server for that, but maybe.
Well, the test server's down for like
I know,
ever.
But that's my point. Is I don't think, why would you put something active in the game as a test section? That would be weird.
I mean, that's what
I'm not
CCP
saying they
does.
wouldn't do it,
Misunderstood
but
Redline. Redline is saying that they can seed something like this, see how the players react, and if this is something they can copy onto other regions of space that are currently not inhabited in the same numbers.
Yes.
So it's
I'd be
not
all
about
for that if they
testing the
did it on the
mechanics,
test
it's about
server,
how
though.
players react to mechanics, which is a very different story.
I don't know. From my standpoint, I would not want that. That would suck. I don't want a test server portion in the active server. That doesn't make any sense to me. I agree that maybe something they do. I could see them
That's
doing
because you're from the generation that would go on the test server, work out all of the mechanics, and then
I am for
like
that generation,
apply it
but I
on
never did
the
that.
like main server like perfectly, which
See,
is like
here's the problem with that
kind of fucking dumb.
assessment. That takes effort, and I don't put effort in.
Oh no.
I've been on the test server like once, and it was like, this is
The
stupid.
people around you, though.
Oh
were
no, I
doing
agree. I'm
that.
from that era. I agree. I am from.
Well,
that
no,
era, yeah.
but the thing is, though, is that this wouldn't be something that you could test on the test server, because what it is essentially is when they would introduce something like that, they have to see how players are going to engage with it. They have to see if it's
Yeah, it's
worth
like the
doing.
dynamics.
Because, like, if they make a system and it sucks and no one wants to engage with it, then they're not going to try to put it on anything else. But if on the flip side, everyone loves it, then they might think about putting it in other places, like low sec or high sec or
But
something
what
like that.
about all the people
Also,
who love
this
the
like
lore? How do
delivery of
you fucking?
content is just more of their like the I can't think of the word, like the path they've set forward, right? Like last keynote or whatever, they were like, yeah, we're gonna like it's gonna be less kind of like patches and like notes and stuff, and it's more gonna be like story driven development, right? And that's what this is, right?
Yeah, it's introducing, the Deathless and bringing us into kind of that fold of, that side of the show, basically. But I get that. But I know that they've said before that they may look at using kind of the mechanics that they're introducing in terms of changing nullsec. For instance, I've heard them mention the sovereignty system in nullsec being being changed after testing it with everyone trying to figure out how it works on the live server while it's going. So I'm kind of thinking maybe they could do that.
They claimed that when they introduced the new faction warfare, right, that they kind of want to use that as a test bed to maybe pull some changes into nullsec and see the player behavior and how they react to certain mechanics. The thing that they are now putting in basically pirate faction warfare in some sense, at least we can guess that from some of the texts, makes me think they might go down the path of these plexus and similar systems and try maybe pushing that into soft mechanics, but I'm not sure how that should work in sovereignty nullsec.
Yeah, I think we've been
it's
wondering
interesting.
for a while what their path forward is for Sov and like nullsec Sov specifically, and how they plan on using the learnings from faction warfare.
I just hope they
Yeah.
learned something from it. Saying you're going to try to learn something from it and doing so.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I guess Fanfest hopefully has something.
Gideon, are you shit talking about Ansiblexes again in the Twitch chat? By the way,
I'm shitting about somebody thinking that NC-plexes and localized scarcity is a good idea.
Ew. Well, Ansiblexes are a good idea. They're fine. They do need to be nerfed, but they are a good idea.
No,
How are they not? Like I said before.
Ansiblexes are bad.
Like I said before,
You
anything
also
that
just don't play
reduces
the
the amount
game.
of travel time is a good thing. And Gideon, you said, and I quote, that when you have things like Ansiblexes, it reduces the amount of opportunity you have to make a mistake. So that just means that you need to get better, because you know where all the
It took you
Ansiblexes are.
45 minutes to come up with that.
It didn't take me 45 minutes. The conversation just flowed and continued, so I just kept it there. But the thing is, though, is that you know where all of the Ansiblexes are. You can wait for people there. You can interdict them there. You can interdict them when they're going. Like, you can bubble an
How much
Ansiblex. I don't
time
know
to
if you knew
donate
that or
to
not.
Man Million?
What?
Yeah, Redline, that is all true, but here's the thing, right? You can anchor at 1000 of a gate, you warp 1000 kilometers to a gate. On the other side, you warp 1000 kilometers to a gate. So the longest warps fleets take when the network is set up in the correct way is 1000 kilometer warps. So you are, instead of having like 100 AU warps or 50 AU warps where you can set up and start a pipe bomb or a bombing fleet, you have 1000 kilometers where the enemy FC can see the whole grid and doesn't have any information missing and can
To
just
be
fleet walk the
fair,
whole fleet.
a route that optimized is very uncommon, but like bits of it will look like that, yes.
Yes, and again, you cannot shadow your fleet. So like what people used to do is, right, when there was a 40-star timer and they knew they couldn't fight head on, but they could send 20 dictators in the way of the enemy and just waterboard them all the way through. With NC-Plexus, this is basically impossible.
Yeah,
Because
the
the amount
range
of gates where you can do that is super, super low.
and also trying to bubble people on the Antsiplex is quite challenging.
Yeah.
The range that people get spat out is quite far.
All right.
Um,
Fair
I'm
enough.
through a
the
post that I
Antsiplex
Fair
made.
model
enough.
is quite big.
You've given me you've given me enough points. I concede. Ansiblexes are bad.
Yeah.
It's not like we can go from one side of the galaxy to the other. We can have our little corner.
You
we can go all over the
can.
place.
You
I
go
look
all
at
the
the
way
map.
from the
There's not
south, all the
there-
way to
no,
the
no,
north to go
There are no
fight for
antiplexes
E3, you
from
little
Invadal. I mean, there's most of the map
buddies.
does not have. You're wrong. Now in our area, yeah, we can get from one side of our area to the other really quickly. But I can't get from my area to your area using antiplex.
That's because I live in Lysec and we don't have
whatever. I
But
can't get to
now
Horde's area with antiplex.
you address one of the key grievances. There is no area in between. So the blocks project, each of the blocks projects to its borders
To
and
its own area, yeah.
yeah, but the borders are ever increasing because the range that the buffer range that you have that you can have now is increasing and increasing with the speed that you can project. So there's no area in between. So you have the Goon block in Delph all the way up to now with Brave and Volta included, all the way up to Fraternity. Then Fraternity starts. Fraternity is now blue to Horde for the time being, or for longer periods of time. And Horde all the way projects down to the south. And now the only part of Nullsec that is not projected to at the moment is because it's under an agreement between Init, Imperium, and Horde to not interfere with that space. But the game mechanics, if that agreement wouldn't exist, the player agreement would just lead that the south would connect as well. Like Goons would project all the way east, and Horde would project south, and they would have another border, and there's no space in between. So the only way medium-sized alliances can exist in the current meta is by a stupid agreement made by players, not by game mechanics. They cannot stand on their own feet. And I don't think that's healthy if you have the biggest alliances projecting all over space. Medium alliances will just get completely projected out of the space. And like there's no reason for small alliances to go out in Nullsec anyway, but that's a different story.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit. I didn't mean to take us down Ansilex Avenue, because I just wanted to take us back to projection, because I made this map earlier and I wanted to use it. So you mentioned these new gates, and Mav, I know you are very vocal about it, that these new gates, if they're just a highway, would be completely trashed and it would be completely broken for projection. So far, of the concerns raised, the only one that I can think of that is really valid is Fraternity being that close, able to get so close to Init or whatever. But they're in a completely different time zone. So like, why would they do that?
It's not just where the groups are right now, right? These groups will move assets to these locations and use them as a highway. We see that, like I'm living in Thera, we see FCs taking Thera a lot to go to the other part of space, but they are at least mass limited. Because these are not mass limited, they're always there, they're very predictable. People will project through them and have assets in a way staged that they can always project through them.
But how is that going to be like a surprise for anybody though? Like, you're going to have a scout in Zarzak, right? You're going to keep an eye on whatever station you know your enemies are in.
It's not about surprises. It's about making the time frame for heavy assets to be deployed smaller and smaller. So let's take Turner as an example, right? I used that example because Big App actually deployed dreadnoughts against Fraternity. Do you think Big App is going to deploy a massive amount of dreadnoughts when they know their Fraternity staging is basically 2 jumps away?
I mean, I doubt it.
Yeah.
No,
So
the answer is no.
no, they won't, and that's the problem, right? Because these time frames are getting smaller and smaller. There is no local meta where a smaller group or medium-sized group will ever think they have a local advantage because they pre-staged heavy assets, and because the time frame is getting smaller and smaller, these medium-sized groups will have less and less opportunity to ever use their medium-sized their heavy assets anywhere.
So that's the problem, is that when we start talking about the projection, I get stumped, because it's like, I can see what you're saying, but I also...
There is a reason that
I would
every
still...
FC that is respected is against once Antibiotics is nerfed and changed and has problems with the current projection meta.
like I linked you a post that I made on Reddit that is co-signed by FCs from Noreos, who's not a small ganger, right? We're talking about fraternity head FC, to medium-sized groups that got completely evicted out of Tribute. I can name the Rote Kapelle ones as an example, and small, like the fewest people that co-signed that post were actually small gangers like myself at the moment. And I've operated at a bigger scale, right? Like I didn't start in the small gang community. I actually just went there because I got called an init spy, which is a completely different story. But I was actually
Sounds like a
seeing for
great
Legacy
story.
and RC. So I'm not just a small gang guy, and I know the problems that this leads to, and my decision making is completely different in that scale because of that projection that I know exists.
So how do they fix it? So if this
Well, I'm
I mean,
hoping
yeah, we probably
there's
shouldn't
going
figure
to be
out
some
how to fix the problem before we know it is a problem. Is the thing though, because like I said, I don't.
That's why I made
hopefully like there's something there. Like maybe you can't like go into the death zone or you just die or yeah. I guess we'll have to see what happens, but there is a concern if you can just go in and out.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I think that we've talked enough about this part of the patch notes, and I want to move on to the fun part of the patch notes, which is that we got some new ships that are coming out. You guys see those? The
No one cares
Mamba.
about the new ship.
What do you mean no one cares about the new ships? It's called it's called Mamba.
I would disagree. I think people do care. Yeah, the destroyers have always been fun.
No.
Every time they add a destroyer to the game, it's fun. Those are
Bro,
good
when
ships.
was the last time you threw a destroyer? All your alliance knows is hacks and battleships.
I fly destroyers all the time.
Well, and to be honest, they didn't even know battleships until they were forced into it because the meta changed. You have Munins and Eagles online.
If you check these ships, and I've discussed it on length with the people that I'm interacting with, they are basically useless out of faction warfare.
Well, let's look at them real quick. So what you see on the
Yeah.
screen right now is the Mamba. It's based on the Korax hull, very clearly, and it's the Garista's ship. And then this one is the Mecha. What's it called?
Someone in
say
the chat says it looks like an oil carrier.
The Makubal.
Makubal. Yes, thanks, Millant. I know how to spell it. I just don't know how to say it. Jesus.
He's putting there phonetically. Just
Makubal. I'm never gonna fly that because I'm never gonna say that word again.
Who's that one under?
That's the Angel Cartel. So Gideon, here you go. So these ships are beautiful. But on the screen now, you can see the bonuses, attributes, and fitting for both ships. So explain to me how these ships are useless in any way, because they seem to be very nice destroyers.
If you check the Mamba, the speed is just atrocious. Just put a micro drive on it and just check the speed line. Then you compare it to the Worm that already exists. The Worm has the same number of mid slots and low slots, but has a smaller signature. If you look at the Mamba, the base signature is 73 meters. That's gigantic compared to, especially if you put a micro drive on it and it doesn't get the same bonus that the faction destroyers get at the moment for the smaller signature. So it's just completely outclassed in fleet settings. I can see them work though as like a kitey Worm style ship in faction warfare plexus. But on a fleet basis, the combination of big signature, being slow, having a system that is a drone system which needs travel time, which is always bad in fleets. The combination of all these factors doesn't make the Mamba viable in any fleet setting. And I don't see it working in regular nullsec as well, because there are just better options if you want to kite.
Gideon Millen is saying that you can get a insane tank on the ship. Is that something you would contest?
No, because small ships don't tank with EHP, they tank with avoiding damage and smaller signatures. The Mamba has 73 meters of signature radius. If you want a tanky ship, the Magus exists, it gets a drone bonus. You can put a link on it, it has T2 resistances, and it's just much more tankier because of the smaller signature as well.
What is the drone bonus for the Magus, though? It's not 300%, right?
Yeah, but it gets 300% on 2 drones, which means the equivalent of 6 normal drones. If you take a Magus that has 5 drones, and it gets
The
50%, so
So
7.5.
this is another one of those two
yeah,
drone ones.
equivalent.
I did read that.
the drone bonus is what, 250% less? That's quite a bit less drone damage, sir. All for
Hang
a
on,
link
why
and
is the
what?
chat
No, no.
talking about rocks and
What?
crab beacons?
What? The chat
Ignore.
does
Yeah, ignore.
the chat does their own thing. Like sometimes the chat and us we talk together, but most of the time the chat is arguing about anti-flex gates, if I'm being honest.
But-
That's
Red line,
Yeah.
you have two
Yes.
drones that get 300%, right? So it's 6 equivalent of normal drones of DPS. If you take
It's
a
not how
Magus,
that
it
works.
gets
This is
5
in the
drones.
Gila and Worm line. Okay, got it. Thank you. I missed that.
How is that
You
not
can-
how it works, huh?
It's
Anyways.
exactly how it works.
I think that these ships are meant more for like solo and
Your
small gang stuff though.
Flexes, yeah.
It would be the equivalent of 8 drones.
What do you mean a drone?
8 drones, light drones. Is
Wait,
like the
how is it
equivalent damage.
8 drones?
You
It's
said it's
6.
you said it's a 300% bonus.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 100% bonus means it's double. 200% bonus means it's triple.
Okay, yeah.
300%
If you-
bonus
yeah.
means it's quadruple.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that
Okay,
will work.
fine.
EU
Is that-
education, honestly.
Is that
Shut
better
up.
or worse than you thought it was 3 minutes ago?
It's 800
Better.
was it's a little bit better, but it's still not enough to push it over the edge of like the Magus or Pontifex.
So you don't even want
Because
to
they get-
try it. You don't even want to try the ship.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try 'em.
You don't need to
It's too
try it
slow.
to read the attribute.
I mean, but
It's too slow.
still, you can try it though. It might be better than you
No.
think.
I don't
No.
disagree. It's not a good fleet ship, but you don't think it'll be good for like small PvE stuff?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
I
the
haven't-
damage
I
is
haven't
not
PvE,
enough
so I don't know.
to be a ganking style ship, and it's slow. It's not fast enough to be a kiting style ship.
I think
So it's a balanced
I think it will
ship?
be good. It'll be decent in like faction warfare shit. As like a just like balls like in your wall, like full DPS. Like what you're gonna do is you're gonna have like it's gonna be like a rocket fit ship, right? You just like warp in at shit at 0 on a faction warfare plex and just dump damage into people. That's what this is gonna be.
Scram kiting and stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a scram kiter. It's too slow. It's the same like speed as the Korax, right? So it's like base speed is like 1500 with a micro warp drive, which is too slow to like actually kite with it. But like it's gonna be a good brawler.
Okay. So talk to me about the Makubal.
Is that the one that looks like an oil rig?
Makubal. I don't know if it looks like
Talking-
an oil
oh,
rig.
It
looks really
Yeah,
cool.
sorry.
The little logo in the
It's the one you
middle
have
glows.
right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's not the oil rig one.
So that is a little bit more interesting, but I think it goes into the same fault that a lot of the Angels ships are currently falling into. When CCP increased the warp speeds of the battleships and the other bigger ships, the Angel ships got their warp speed bonus nerfed from 50% increase to 25% increase. So that is not really a significant roll bonus anymore. And CCP is not compensating the loss of the value of that attribute with better attributes and better traits in other positions. And the Mercubal kind of falls into the same space. It's just not enough DPS or fitting or slots to make it work where it beats other options that exist.
So
and
it's
the little warp speed is not gonna compensate for that.
so it's a little bit better, but it's not as good as you think it should be.
Yeah, the problem is the fresher fleet issue gets a mic warp drive signature reduction. That is very significant, and this ship doesn't.
But I guess my question
basically
is,
has-
wouldn't that just make it balanced though?
The problem is if you have a ship that is probably going to be between 170 to 200 million, that is simply outclassed by a 20 million ship. I don't think that's balanced. So why would anybody ever use that ship?
I mean, I would use it just to try it out and see
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah, but it's not going to be a
myself.
competitive ship, right? It's going to be a meme.
Yeah.
With the current stats, it's going to be a meme like the Execura Navy issue before the changes. Like it's a ship that you sometimes see and you can make it work if you really want to, but it's not really optimal, so it's just going to vanish.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make this commitment right now. Just like you are the top retribution pilot in the game, I am going to be the top Mamba pilot in the game.
No, you're not.
Yes, I fucking
Somebody
am.
clip that. Somebody clip
No,
it.
you're not.
It is the only ship that I will fly
much do you wanna
from the
bet?
moment it goes out.
How much
I
do you wanna
will
bet?
only fly the Mamba.
Put
I-
15 bill.
I
on it.
will lose the first Mamba. in the game, EVE Online. I
No, you
swear to
won't.
God. I swear to God I will.
Put money on it.
I
Put money
swear
on
I
it.
will. I don't need to
No,
put
put
money on
money
it
on
because
it.
I'm sure. Why would I bet against
You're
myself?
not gonna be.
I'm gonna be. I'll do whatever it takes. If anyone's listening and can
So
build a
these are
Mamba,
ships.
whatever
What are
it
these gonna be
takes.
ships in? Are these gonna be loyalty point ships?
I think they're gonna be based off of LP. I don't know if it's LP, honestly.
If they introduce faction warfare for pirates or something that looks to be that way, right? It would surprise me if there would not be an LP store supplying them.
Yeah, I mean, there
Because
just about has to
So,
be, but it
if
just
there's not an LP store supplying, this is gonna be you have to do sites to get the blueprints, right?
Someone
something
said
like
it
that.
will be in LP store, but didn't cite a source. So
He
Who
just
knows?
wrote gotta be below that,
Well, because
meaning
like
that he doesn't
the
know.
worms, the elas,
Mm.
and the rattlesnakes you get from the blueprints from doing sites, correct? Am I wrong about that?
Now, why
You
would these
can-
ships be 170 million when they both build for under 100?
Because
Is the LP for the blueprint, is it that that expensive?
if you look at the Succubus, for example, or the Gamma, which you can use as an example for a pirate ship, they currently sell for 100 to 120 million, and I just added the added industry on top and used the same blueprint price to get to the 170 million range. So if the blueprint is more common or less common, it goes in that range, right? But you would expect it to be in that range.
Gideon was telling us that these ships that build for less than 100 mil are going to cost twice that. And I don't believe him. I don't believe him at all. Because when people start farming this stuff, they're going to over farm it. They're going to over farm the hell out of it. And those
Yeah, but
things
then
will
the industry is bottlenecked.
I mean, that may be true, but look, if I know one thing about Eve players, it's that they just farm and farm and farm and farm and farm. So eventually, it'll probably get down to a reasonable price. That way, it's not going to take that much risk for me to become the top Mamba pilot in the video game.
You're not
Which,
gonna become the top.
which, by the way, chat, is a commitment that I made today. So tell Mr. Unlucky not to fly a Mamba, because if he flies a Mamba, he will definitely beat me. And I cannot lose this
Red
bet to
Light,
Mav. It
put
would be
money on it.
embarrassing because he's a
You
cunt.
didn't put that on it. Put
Well, not-
money on it.
But not yet. I mean, eventually, I probably will.
Memes aside, the problem with Makubal is fuck me. I'm actually gonna have to agree with Mav on this. Is it's a bit of swing and the miss. The problem it runs into is that it has 8 effective turrets, and the Thrasher fleet issue.
No, that was
is-
Gideon, not me.
Oh, my bad, Gideon. Is that the Thresher fleet issue has like over 10 effective turrets is because Makubal has only 4 high points and it's got the 100% damage. So you're doing like 20-25% less damage than the Thrasher fleet issue. And it's basically got the same bonus to like optimal and fall off. The only thing that the Makubal does better is track. But like it's a light autocannon anyway, you're not having tracking issues to begin with ever. So I guess you get to warp faster.
You have a little bit more on-grid movement speed, but then again, you don't want to be micro driving with a destroyer that blooms the signature that much. So
Do you think they'll add a Blood Raiders and a Serpentis then? Because they're both to add, the way they got a full line all the way up.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the natural like question that's kind of unspoken, right? Is we have this gate that's the it's Garistas, right? I'm not fucking that up. Garistas and Angels.
What do you mean for what we have now?
Yeah, with the gate.
The two no, oh the one oh no.
Yeah, it's the Garistas and the Angels that we're getting this gate for. Like, there's probably other pirate factions that are going to have their own shit. Are they going to have a network that's separate? Is it going to connect to this one? Like, I'm sure Blood Raiders have something to say about that. Where their faction destroyers at?
Oh,
Well, the other two groups that have almost a full line of ships are
well, those
Blood Raiders and Serpentis. They're missing a destroyer, so I wonder if that'll be the next step for them. But like if you look at like Mordos, they only have 3 ships. Science Nation only has 4. So I don't know what they'll do there.
I mean, if these work out, it's definitely something that they probably iterate on later on down the road. I mean, bringing out more of them for the other factions. They just have to figure out how to do it as far as the lore is concerned.
Well, especially like the Serpentis ones. I mean, because those are actual faction ships that people use, or pirate ships people use. I mean, we do.
Well, I'll tell you what. So we talked about the gates. We talked about the ships. So next up on our list of things to talk about is Fanfest. And unless you're not familiar, Fanfest is where CCP is going to reveal the next big secrets about EVE Online. And it's happening this weekend. They're going to be streaming a lot of the event. And that's kind of what I want to talk about is just the things that are going to be happening, things that we'll be seeing, things that only the people that are there are going to be seeing, and
Do
kind
you
of
have
what
the
we can
schedule?
expect from that. I do. Yeah, it's on the screen, on the stream. I've got everything here ready to go. So, anyways, we start off on Friday. The only thing that I'm interested in is the keynote.
Keynote. So much of this looks fucking boring.
Like the
I disagree. There's a couple other things in there I would like to see.
like I will probably watch the Project Discovery one for like the first 5 minutes, and if it catches keeps my attention, I'll probably watch it. The behavior and conflict and game theory, probably not. The welcome ceremony, I yeah, sure. I feel I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there was more last year.
you
I'm
are.
gonna say there will be more activity this year than will be last year. This is the 20th anniversary. There's no way they're gonna fuck that up. I mean,
Yeah.
I know they fuck up a lot of things, but they're not gonna fuck that up.
Well, and so here's the thing, right? Is that FanFest is a lot more than what's going to be on the stream. FanFest is more about getting
of
together
course.
with the people that are there and everything, but it is also about watching the keynote. Now, I'll be honest, I'm going to watch everything. I'm going to watch as much as I can of this because it's going to be interesting one way or the other. But no, like what do you guys think is going to be announced at the keynote? Like Seema says, we've waited 2 years for this fan fest, just like they told us to. We've been waiting this whole time. What could it be?
To be honest, I think
I
the
mean, it's gonna
keynote
be
will have
the
a
new
lot of history
Deathless stuff,
first.
right?
It's
I
gotta
think
be the Deathless stuff. Yeah.
I think it'll be a lot of
Yeah.
history, honestly.
Wait.
That'll be most of it. And a cool video.
I would not be surprised if we finally get Logion kill mails as well.
Okay, memes aside, are people saying that we've waited 2 years for this because last FanFest nothing happened? Or
Yes.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Even though the last year of development in EVE Online has been fantastic,
compared
FanFest
to
last year
previous 2
was
years,
nothing.
yes,
Yeah, I mean, I think they fucked themselves, right? As they kept like one dude in a Discord basically said, "Yeah, like it'll be
Yeah.
great," and then they like
Someone said it was gonna be the best FanFest
and
ever,
then they
right?
just nothing happened. I feel like if
Well,
anything this time around, CCP's like done almost overcorrected, and they said not all that much. They haven't been. I mean, they've been selling tickets, right? Like trying to build up the event, but they haven't been like promising that hard on what's going to happen at like the keynote.
But they
I
never
mean,
do.
but they
never tell you
have.
up
But
front.
here's the
They
here's the
have.
thing,
They've been
right?
hyping up the 20th anniversary
Yeah,
for like 6
and the
months.
Deathless stuff.
no,
But
I'm
not,
saying they've been
they've
hyping up.
never said anything about the keynote ever. If I
Yeah,
tell you
let
up
me
front, it's a
rephrase.
surprise.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. Last
True.
year they were hyping up what they were going to release at the what was going to get announced at first, right? This time they're basically more hyping up like how it's going to be like an awesome in-person experience for the people that are there and how it's going to be, a huge community event, right? As opposed to last year where they're hyping it more for like the player base not actually attending there physically in person.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah, and you know what? They're doing it the right way this time. Hype up the event itself, not the keynote. Don't promise you're going to tell us anything. Let it be a surprise. Have a bunch of activities at the event, which looks like there's a lot of. I went in 2014. And there was nothing. There's a lot of the things in this list. There was nothing like that when I went. I mean, they're like the outside Eve stuff. It looks really cool. You have the James Webb thing. You have the Project Discovery thing. You have a comedian coming in. There's a bunch of different stuff like that. That's kind of neat. I think they are going all out, and they should. It's their 20th anniversary. If they don't do it now, no, why they would never do it.
Cool.
But what could it be?
Well, like the whole like Eve redacted thing is.
It's Eve 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to
That's
be
what
some. What there's going to be some
Shooter?
major announcement, right? That they feel like they've been holding back. That they don't even want to say is on the schedule, right? And
Yeah,
like
Eve 2.
imagine like last year, right? After how like under delivered they did, if like an hour and 50 minutes of like prime time on Saturday is just fucking nothing that no one cares about, right?
It could be also didn't they develop the shooter for a long time now?
I think
And
they'll
that could
mention
be
it.
the redacted
Yeah,
part.
I think they'll mention it.
They've canceled and uncanceled a shooter like 3 or 4 times now at this point.
No, they got alpha testers right now. They're still in production.
I know that they've still tried, but like I remember they demoed, I think it was like 2017 or 2016, they demoed a shooter there, and the reaction to it was actually so negative that as a result they canceled the project. So this is not the first time they've like
Oh no,
this is not the
really?
first time that they've done that. So like hopefully it doesn't fucking suck. I can find the footage later and post it in Discord, but yeah, that was bad.
Christ.
Well, and there's a lot of
I'm pretty sure
redacted.
there's like an NDA test
I think-
event as well happening at FanFest, which is a bit weird.
There's a lot of stuff
So you're gonna be able
redacted
to
on this
test
schedule, though.
something. Well, no, but this is like you have to sign an NDA to do it at FanFest.
That's insane.
So it'll get it leaked in like 2 days instead of like instantly.
I mean, it was in a survey, so I don't know if it's actually happening or not. But yeah,
Did anybody go to the actual like schedule event where it gives you descriptions of each thing? The redacted thing just sounds like they're going to talk about the keynote. There's no more information about it. If you look at the,
why would it be redacted then?
because they're being clever with their name, just having fun. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, they don't want to
No.
say
Well,
what
that's
the
just fun.
they don't want to say what the
We're going to
keynote
discuss
is.
this.
So.
We can't tell you what the keynote is yet, so it's redacted.
So it's
Yeah,
obviously something they want to keep a secret. So, I mean, I think it's got to be related to the Deathless, and it could be that additional region of space. So maybe they do unlock these gates sooner than we
Yeah,
think.
I think that one of the things we're running into is there's no fucking way that just what we see on Hobo Leaks is actually like the entirety of what they're trying to announce or release. Like I don't think they would fuck
Yeah,
up
no,
like their
absolutely
main
not.
event by just like accidentally having like that push to the test server and people data mining, before the main event. They're not gonna fuck that up.
But it's got to lead into it, right?
It's gonna lead into it, right? Like they're giving us like the breadcrumbs for the people who care enough to like look into it to build up to this, and then this is gonna be for
One
like
thing
everyone else.
we haven't talked about is when do we think the system is going to open? Because the fact that it's now like in game, the gates are like all basically almost ready, and like it sounds like they're just going to be able to turn it on at some point.
But
Yeah, well, they
actually
could have been
November,
testing
Sounds
it
like
this
it's
whole
coming
time.
very soon.
Well,
Actually,
yeah,
it
but
would probably be November when the expansion comes out. Don't you suppose, or you think it'll be earlier than that?
Could be, yeah. So maybe they announced the additional region at FanFest and say it all comes out in November, but that's gonna give people a lot of time to run Mambas and Mechabals through
Well, I think the
Pyfa.
Mamba fleet's everywhere. They seems like the greatest ship ever.
that
Probably
or
the best ship they've ever put in the game.
that or like this is the system that we're getting, right? Maybe it's entirely possible that they like flip a light switch, like after FanFest, and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
this is like what's building is like step one of like the 3 arc plan to get this is just like the teaser,
Maybe, yeah.
breadcrumbs before the major expansion in November.
So getting back to that redacted thing, I'll read that. It says, "Join us for a deeper dive into all the exciting adventures and content coming your way in Eve." That's what the redacted little thing is. It's just like a round table for talking about the keynote, and they're doing 2 of them.
Well, if you look at the rest of the schedule, like they split it up into like what's actually happening at the event itself, not on stream, and there's a whole bunch of shit that's redacted on it. I don't think that's all the same thing. I think it's just
Well,
like
it's
something
the,
that
there's yeah,
they're
no, it's the same
not
thing.
wanting to say. It's the
They're-
same
'cause
thing
It's a
because
round. It's a round table of the keynote, right? But they're doing 4 of them, so they get enough people to. Because they can't bring everybody into a round table, so you have to. You sign up for there's 4 different times they're doing it. It's the same thing 4
Oh,
different times.
jeez. Okay.
Yo, can you post a link to that or something so we
did.
can put
I
that on
just did.
stream?
Yeah, can we just bring it up on stream
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
it's
I
right
have
there.
it right. So
instead
this
of
is
staring at this picture?
this is what I'm seeing. The Eve redacted on the main
No, if you
at
pull what I
12:30,
put, that's not it. Hold on.
and then I know what you've got. I saw what you have.
Okay, I
Or
linked
is
it.
that
Can
what
we
you guys
look
want
at
to see?
Friday?
Is that?
I linked it. No, that's not it.
Can we look at Friday?
No redacted on Friday.
They're on
No,
Saturdays.
but like just look at what's going on Friday. I don't really give a shit about this redacted thing. It's kind of a shame that they don't like stream some of the other stuff
Yeah, I
because there's
kinda wish
bits of
they
it which
would.
are like, Yeah, like the tournament panel would be really interesting for people in the tournament scene, of course.
It would, yeah.
Like keeping Eve safe, like that sounds kind of interesting. The Eve Forever stuff also sounds interesting, like for techies. I mean, like, I guess they have to, like, there has to be a reason to go, but like, I can't be fucked to go to Iceland for this dog shit game.
Well, it's not for the game; it's for the players who play it. Come on, you know how this works.
It is a lot of fun. I mean,
I
besides the dog
hate
shit game part of it, but
99% of Eve players riddling.
well, of course
Yeah,
you do.
but if the 1% of the players you do like are there, you'd have fun.
Mm,
Plus,
no.
you're way closer to Iceland than I am, which is way
Yeah,
more
it's like 10
convenient for you.
minutes.
Like, I'm super jealous
That
that
still
I'm not
doesn't make
nearly
sense.
as close to Iceland as you are. But it's all
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan,
but you could go to leave Vegas. So
I'll just
True.
answer it. I'm gonna answer the question in chat. So keeping you safe, probably like they're like anti-botting shit or like some of the like
Yeah.
just security stuff
That's on
that they'll
Friday?
talk about. Yeah, they'll probably they usually do something like that where they talk about like some of the stuff they do for
And
like security stuff.
Can we go to Saturday?
we can go to Saturday. We can indeed. This is the one that's got all the redacted on it. But it does have a talk from Andrew Groen. He's the guy who did the Empires of
The book
Ebooks.
guy, right?
Yeah, the book guy.
Yeah.
That's right. The
I
book
have
guy.
those. I've somewhat read them.
Also
So yeah,
Exupees.
the Eve Redacted is definitely like that thing, and then there's 2 panels on it, but the
Three.
panels might not be related. I don't know. Who knows?
Eve Safe is a showcase that talk about identity and take actions against botters, frauders, and hackers in Eve. That's what that is.
Okay, so
That's cool.
team security talk. We like that. That's what Mod was mentioning.
Yeah, those security talks are usually pretty good.
And then there is that documentary, which is on. Where was it?
I think
That's on
I
Thursday.
think
Actually.
Documentary.
somebody mentioned the Eve tournaments panel. I agree because it's not an Eve tournament panel of players. It's CCB Kestrel, Overlord, Paragon, Swift, and Zealous. That's who I want to hear them talk about the events. That's it. That's good.
So there was a question in chat about when they were going to announce CSM. I've had that question as well because it doesn't say anywhere
Oh yeah.
where they're
That's part
going
of
to
the
announce
keynote.
CSM.
Probably
the
during
keynote.
the keynote.
Yeah, that's what they've done in the past when they did it at FanFest.
Well, if anyone from CCP
Yeah,
happens to be listening,
shot.
I would like to know for sure when CSM is going to be announced.
Wait, hang on. What is this Thursday shit?
That's just stuff that's happening at the event that you're not going to know about because you're not there. It's not streamed a whole day.
So like most of
okay,
these,
well, I don't care about any of this. So
most of this stuff
actually,
is like things that they have while like people are still flying in, right? You know, not everyone books like a hotel room and a flight for Thursday. So most of this, if you look at it, most of it's people that are like it's a lot of player presentations, like the stuff in orange.
the
And
Odin
just
thing would be interesting.
it's like fun stuff, but like nothing like super important that you're gonna miss out on.
There's the Escapist documentary about Eve. That's kind of interesting.
Why is that?
It's the Escapist is the magazine they're talking about. So then from launch day to today, kind of interesting.
Okay, so the welcome ceremony is half an hour. It doesn't say how long the keynote is gonna be. Maybe it's 2 hours.
Well, they've got a 3-hour window because at 18:30, or I guess 3.5-hour window. 18:30 is when they start doing the pub crawl stuff.
Yeah, so they deliberately keep the keynote at the end because 1500 Eve time is still like really early for a lot of like US people, and they're trying to get like EU and US, so they do all that shit up until like really early on.
Can you go to the other, like the Friday and Saturday? I'm just trying to work out what the like latest time something happens is.
You mean the Friday and Saturday for like in person?
Yeah.
1700 when the no, that's Thursday. You want Friday?
Yeah, Friday, yeah.
20 o'clock.
Thursday.
Oh, that's Saturday.
Okay. Some of
I
the
mean,
slots like
everything's-
an hour, some are like half an hour.
I mean, they're just gonna talk until they're finished. Is how the keynote's gonna go.
Yeah.
And there'll be a video you watch. They'll probably watch it 3 or 4 times. That's what they did when
Yeah,
I was there.
maybe. But either way, I mean, I think a lot of this is gonna be interesting. I really do wish that I could have gone, if not just to get a swag box from Rick's Javix. Dude's got some deathless pens, and I desperately want one. But
Begging for one. Maybe I'll send you one.
I started the process.
The problem is CSM representatives have already, or at least one has already come out and said, we tried.
Yeah, I
Like,
take anything they're saying with a grain of salt.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna take it with a grain of salt. They're like the fucking CSM, right? Like, like Mark is a bit of a memer, but if he's saying like my official comment on the new system is we tried, that's all I can say. Like, sounds like we're kind of fucked.
Well, you didn't say who it was first. That's why I say take a grain of salt. I agree. That's person's
Well, I wasn't
got
gonna be
credibility.
quoting fucking Millen on here, was I? Yeah, I don't know. Well,
Well, that's
we'll see.
okay.
I feel like if they like gigafucked projection, like the CSM would have like told them you're going to fuck projection. This is really bad over and over again, and it's CCP's game if they want to
I
fucking
talked to
kill it.
one of the current CSMs, and he stated that they were very stern in their stance that they should look at the projection if they introduce that stuff. But
Oh,
as much as he could tell me, he was like, they told them that. And he's very concerned with the hobo leaks, and he hopes that the hobo leaks are not what is going to be pushed on the server. Because the current format looks not good.
But anyways, I mean, it is about that time. Gang, this has been Trash Talk Tuesday. I've been Redline 13, and it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you on Sunday at 1800 for the
No, we
Fanfest
won't.
post-game. God damn it, Mav.